Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. So great to be along with you. I warned you all the way back in November that the document destruction inside American intelligence agencies was going on the moment President Trump was elected. I believe this document destruction has continued. I believe the wiping of servers has continued. And not just inside the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, but I think in most agencies across the federal government, you're going to see document destruction of treasonous behavior inside Department of Defense as well. So we've got a lot of news to cover today. James Comey, former director of the FBI, now under investigation, we are being told, for running a honeypot scheme, an off-the-books honeypot operation to install two female smoke shows into the Trump campaign to see if they could entrap somebody into, I don't know, digging up dirt on President Trump. That investigation will progress. We're also hearing from whistleblowers inside the FBI and CIA now that say the document destruction continues. I'm surprised there's anything left to destroy, quite frankly. I think this has been going on for a very long time, but this is a sign of just how worried the deep state is. Destroying documents is treasonous in and of itself because it does risk our national security. But I think what you're going to see from the JFK files to COVID to the Vegas shooter to you name it, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, I think Epstein, you look at all of these things and you're going to see some very high-ranking, powerful people that were caught up in a scheme to steal America. And so that's why these documents are being destroyed. And that's why, quite frankly, all of these headquarters should be dubbed crime scenes. And in many respects, I don't know, it may be going overboard to say you need to shut these buildings down. You need to get everybody out. The one group, CIA, FBI, maybe they all have to work from home for the next week as investigators that we trust can go in there and secure all these things. My feeling is it is probably too late. We're going to talk about that on the program today. Before we do, though, folks, I want to tell you about my friends over at Energized Health. They're running a challenge, and it's amazing. My555challenge.com. $5, 5 days, 5 pounds, guaranteed. You get a little taste of what intercellular hydration can do for you. Look at what it did for me. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I've kept it off. I did the 88-day full program, and I'm in the best shape of my life, and I just turned 56 years old. That, in many respects, is thanks to Energized Health. My555challenge.com. Why would you wait? It starts with day one, taking the first step, do it now. And really, even before you take the first step, all it starts with is typing in that website and starting to peruse it and get the information you need to take your life back. My555challenge.com. Start losing the weight you want. And start getting back to the business of being healthy. Your whole life's going to change, I promise you. My555challenge.com. All right, so Anna Paulina Luna is leading a committee to oversee the release of all of this classified documents. Now, one has to ask, Pam Bondi has been in for a few days. Kash Patel, I'm going to give some leeway to. I mean, Monday was really his first day on the job. Of course, he got sworn in over the weekend, but, Monday, the first real work day. It's hard to get and push out all things he needs to push out in one day. He's got to look at them. He's got to see. But Pam Bondi has been there long enough now that we should have the Epstein files at the very least. That's what we were promised. I want to see who's on that list. I believe you're going to see very powerful political figures from both parties in the Epstein Black Book. I believe you will see powerful donors, maybe even connected to President Trump. I do not believe you will see President Trump on this list. But when you're president of the United States, so I want everyone out there to brace themselves for this, there will be people connected to President Trump on this. Just as there will be people connected to Barack Obama himself, Bill Clinton himself. There's going to be people connected to the rich and famous in America. I don't think you're going to see Trump on the list. We would already known about that. What you are going to see, though, I think you're going to see religious leaders big time, evangelistic preachers. I think some of them could be on this list too. This is going to be a huge hammer that drops for people, which may be the reason why it's being delayed. Pam Bondi not coming out. In fact, Anna Paulina Luna, who's running this congressional committee to oversee and ensure that all this information that we've been promised gets released. So what's on the list? We've got JFK, we've got MLK, we've got the Vegas shooting, we've got the Epstein files, we've got 9/11, we've got the Trump-Russian collusion hoax. Those seem to be COVID that I mentioned. Those seem to be the big ones that we need. And I would think Epstein at the top of the list. So she's on the committee to ensure this happens. She had to post on X a tweet directed at Pam Bondi saying she sent letters on the 9th and 11th of February. The DOJ has not responded to Anna Paulina Luna, the chairwoman of this congressional subcommittee. So she says she reaches out on X. Now, I love Pam Bondi, and I know she's going to do a good job, and I know she has her reasons for delaying this. I think the reasons is even once these people get in there and they say, holy macaroni, are we sure we're ready to do this? Well, the American people most certainly deserve to see it. That's for sure. So this was Anna Paulina Luna on with my buddy Charlie Kirk yesterday, explaining some of the things that she's hearing that's going on inside our nation's intelligence agencies.
I initially thought we would because I had faith that Kash would give us whatever documents that he had. Now we're finding out per that whistleblower, and I'm actually talking to the whistleblower in about 10 minutes here directly to figure out if we can get leads on who those names are. Now we're finding out that potentially there was destruction of evidence. But as you saw over the weekend, Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, she actually said that she was reviewing documents and that they were on her desk. And so we've been largely pushing for the declassification of these documents. We haven't even seen them, Charlie. But that information, as well as the other information like JFK, RFK, that belongs to the American people. That should not be siloed any longer. It's been years. And specifically with Jeffrey Epstein, I mean, look, this goes back into the whole conversation of, do you think Jeffrey Epstein killed himself? I don't think he did. That's pretty wild. If you look at the people that he was involved with and the prison that he was in, that could have happened. And so, I think that there's a lot of powers at play here. Obviously, we did not anticipate that these people would be doing it so out in the open, but apparently they're destroying evidence. And so this is a big deal. I think that the American people need to understand the gravity of what this means and also understand that within our own agencies, our trusted agencies that are supposed to be there to defend and protect us, that they're actively fighting against what President Trump wants for this country and transparency for the American people. So take note of who's trying to undermine.
I hope everyone understands there is a rogue government right now that's operating. That there is a shadow government that is defying the will of the people, and they are operating in direct defiance. It is a shadow government.
Well, Charlie's right. We've talked about that on this program. The shadow government is very real. When I ran for Congress in 2011, I called it a deep state. President Trump dubbed it the deep state. I called it a ruling class of career bureaucrats. Deep state, truthfully, is a better term, but they're both the same. You have these career bureaucrats, insiders, that love power. That's what this is all about. Why? Because the power means money. And when you can control information, right? Who knows what? Who has access to what? There's also power in that, and there's also big money in all of that. So I think what's going to happen here is you're watching these documents to be destroyed, and I think you're also going to see this shadow government, as Charlie says, that has been covering for these very powerful Americans that are on many of these lists and covering for many powerful politicians that was doing Americans harm. God forbid there's something really nefarious on 9/11. I'm hesitant to believe that. I'm going to tell you this, folks, but I'm going to tell you this because I was there on 9/11. It's not because I don't see the evidence that there could be something nefarious behind 9/11. I do. Every day I see something else that makes me raise questions about what really happened that day. But I want you to know, in some respects, I'm blinded by it because I was there that day. I was was one of the first to get to ground zero. I was one of the first to get to the actual ground zero where the towers fell many hours later, but right at the base of those towers. And I will never forget what I saw, what I smelled, what I tasted. And for me, I think it's my protection to want to wall this off that our own government could be responsible for something like that. I do believe there were Islamic terrorists involved. But I also see evidence that somehow maybe there's United States involvement as well. We deserve to know if that's the case. And I'm not even convinced. Well, we deserve to know. Let's just say that. I'm not going to even speculate because I don't want to go there. But certainly the Epstein case, we need to know. Now, if someone was covering for Epstein, someone inside government, someone who was allowing this to happen, this would be a reason why you'd be destroying documents. So Benny Johnson, who's a friend of mine, he had on an FBI whistleblower, and it was pretty fascinating to listen to him.
You maybe give us a closer in perspective as to what the subversion is happening inside of the building right now. I mean, it's obviously you're going to have like an antibody reaction to somebody
Absolutely.
like Kash.
I'll give you a big one that I heard recently, which was already passed on, is that there are FBI servers that are sort of standalone, and people inside the FBI have been working night and day to destroy files on these servers. And I was told that once these files are destroyed, the way they are set up, that even Elon Musk could not restore them. So that's happening right now as we speak. That's happening with Kash Patel being the director. It was happening before he got there. And so that subversion, like I said, started immediately.
So think about what he just said there. He just said what I told you in November was that this was going on. Now, I would believe if the FBI is worth anything, there would have to be a digital footprint left. Somebody's got to log into computers. Somebody's got to log in to get things deleted and wiped clean. If that's the case, then there has to be a track of who was there and who was deleting this. That is most certainly subversion. The fact that it's going on right now, I'm not necessarily sure I buy. If they're really this smart about destroying the evidence, you would have had to do it before Kash took over. And you had months to do it, which is why I said the crime scene tape needed to be put around these buildings before the day Kash was sworn in. The crime scene tape making these headquarters, CIA, FBI, a crime scene needed to be put up long before Kash was sworn in. Needed to be put up the day that President Trump was sworn, the day that President Trump was elected as the president of the United States.
And it's only going to continue. These people, here's another example I was told. Last week, right out of the gates, Kash Patel came out and said 1,500 people, 500, you're going to Alabama. You're still going to be headquarters personnel, you're going to Alabama. 1,000 of you, you're going out to the field. He said this long before the election even, that he said if he was in charge, he would say, let cops be cops, and so go out and be cops. Already, people are saying, we are not going to comply with that. We are going to make it seem as if we transferred. We're going to do what they call, quote unquote, paper transfers, and we're not going to obey.
So the fear now is if they don't obey, they're going to take the information that they have or information they didn't destroy. Maybe they copy, they put it on another disk to blackmail somebody down the road. Think about the money that could be used. Epstein made billions. Epstein made his money by literally blackmailing these people. This was the ultimate honeypot that Epstein had going. Think about the money that could be made by rogue agents who now have this information they took, wiped clean, but saved. You know, in the Rumble chat, Craig Muttley writes, remember the shredder truck outside a government agency shortly after the election. I don't, but I'm not surprised. I really am not. I think there's old files that go back to JFK, MLK that probably are still paper. You would think everything would have been scanned, but I also think the deep state runs so deep that there were files that were put away in secret vaults, not scanned, so there was no record of it, and there were probably orders to destroy those files that got handed down over the decades. And I think those files would be destroyed. How do we know what we don't know? You don't. Release all the JFK files. Okay. But if we don't know what existed, we don't know if we're getting them all. So that's why we needed to seal that building down, and then you start searching it. They may not even be in the building if it's as nefarious as I think it could have been. I'm going to get back to him in a moment, but I want to tell you about my friends over at get20now.com. Get20now.com, 20% annualized interest on your investment paid monthly. Just today, I got my notification that I got my direct deposit into my bank account from the investment that I made, my 20% back in, and this is up to 20% back into my bank account every month. It's cash flow. It is mailbox money. So easy. I sit back and watch it come in. Now, you contractually agree. There's certain levels. Now, this is up to 20%. So you contractually agree to this, and it's there. They have lived up to their promises to me. This is about Bitcoin mining. I want you to take a look at this. This is one of their giant warehouses that's in Texas. Really a phenomenal place when you look at what it is. They mine the Bitcoin. They sell it on the open market the next day. That way they can pay off the investors who are helping them get all the mining machines in place. I'm told also they're trying to harvest the heat from all the machines to create electricity, to create electricity that's even cheaper than they're getting it from. So if you want to take part in the Bitcoin mining craze and not have to deal with the wild swings, get20now.com is for you. That's get20now.com. Tell them Grant sent you up to 20% annualized income paid monthly. And again, they're good guys. Tell them I sent you. All right. Back to this FBI whistleblower.
These lawful orders. I don't know if you heard Stephen Miller in the last few days. He came out and has given a great civics lesson on Article 2 of the Constitution. The FBI falls under the executive branch. And you have these career bureaucrats who say, no, we answer to no one. Well, hopefully that's going to change. And I think under Kash Patel and Dan Bongino leadership, I think it will. But they've got to root out this subversion first.
Somebody who works inside of the West Wing came up to us in a private setting when we were in D.C. and said, you would not believe the number of times that my office has to be swept for bugs.
It's crazy.
And inside the White House has to be swept by agencies to figure out if there's electronic monitoring that's happening to us on a daily basis. It's crazy. Any idea what was on the servers that's so damning that
All right, back to that question in a second, but what Benny just said there, it's got sources inside the White House that say their offices are being swept for bugs every day. Now, who's putting bugs in there? Someone has to have access to the White House in order to put bugs in a staffer's office. They've got to get through security. They've got to get through security with those bugs, so somebody has to be in on it. You see what I mean when I tell you the president really has no friends? That when you get down to the brass tacks of it all, President Trump cannot trust anyone. I would not recommend he trust anyone because the stakes are so great with what he's doing. The amount he has accomplished in just 30 days is so great. The deep state want him gone. Look, he's certainly not out of the woods when it comes to assassination attempts. He may be wanted more than any other president in the history of the United States. And I thought George Bush was a wanted man after 9/11. Little did I know that Donald J. Trump would be enemy number one of enemies. No, they don't get any more brutal than the enemies that we have inside our own federal government.
it has to be siloed into such a secure facility with the lack of redundancy or capacity for anybody to go through and sort of from forensic, like digital forensics, right? You can uncover most data that's deleted, you can uncover it in some capacity. So somebody's worked very hard to make
the Epstein list. I'd imagine it's cases like that. It's intel cases that are very siloed, very secretive. And I'm sure there's probably even information regarding the FBI's own subversive measures against Americans, against American politicians, for instance. We learned over the last few days that the Oval Office was bugged, and they took out the Resolute desk to inspect it more. Who's doing that type of thing, Benny? It's going to be, if they're operating at all as they should be, it's going to be the FBI, because they're the domestic agency. Now, Is it beyond the CIA or NSA playing a role? No, not at all. Because I think all of these agencies at this point do not have the best interest of the American public in mind. That's something that the Trump administration is trying to change.
This is why I have said to members of President Trump's team, he's got to get a core security crew in place of men and women that he trusts and only he trusts. And you're going to need about 30 to 50 of them in order to keep an eye on everything close to the president 24/7. That Oval Office, when President Trump is not there, needs to be guarded by a Secret Service officer, agent, that President Trump trusts, that nobody gets into that office without being patted down and checked. How does the Oval Office get bugged? Unless somebody's in on it. Nobody gets near Air Force One. Got to have people that you trust. Nobody gets near President Trump's bedroom or, God forbid, the kitchen in the White House. Nobody. So I wouldn't even be adverse to President Trump hiring his own private security team. I know he has some at Mar-a-Lago. Secret Service now is probably the largest Secret Service team to ever protect a president with the threats that are against President Trump right now. But I'd want my own hired security just to know whose best interest they really have at heart. And I don't have a lot of confidence in the Secret Service lately, unfortunately. And that's an agency that I loved for a long time. So Benny making news. Anna Paulina Luna, who I just played for you, went on his show as we try to play all this out. This is what she had to say.
Now, what I'm finding is that the archives process is a complete disaster, which President Trump has rightfully appointed a new person to take that over. I did meet with the archives. They are going to have a website and a landing page where everyone can go directly. As soon as those documents are scanned, they will be looked and available on the National Archives. So that will be for the American people to see. We're not stonewalling or gatekeeping anything. That will be directly for you to look into.
All right, that's about the JFK files. So again, she's overseeing this congressional committee to facilitate the release of these files. NARA, the National Archives, who played such an instrumental role in really screwing President Trump with the Mar-a-Lago situation. She now says there'll be a website, but you notice what she said? These files have to be scanned in. Now, we live in 2025. You're telling me the JFK files hadn't all been scanned already? Really? I don't believe it. I really don't. The files that haven't been scanned are the files that we don't know about, and then the files that are already destroyed, which means there's no files left to scan. They're stonewalling and blocking. That's what they're having. They're giving themselves time. I want to see records of documents scanned unless they just dispatch someone to scan the documents all over again. I promise you, these documents are already scanned. Don't buy it. I would take a crew, Anna Paulina Luna. I would go down to the National Archives. I would demand entry, and I would demand I want to see where these files are and look at them yourself. Because I believe they most certainly have already been scanned in. There is no doubt in my mind about that. So, folks, let me tell you about Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/Grant. We are living in very uncertain times. We are living in an uncertain world in the Middle East. Yes, President Trump is working towards peace, but we already know about rare earth minerals at a shortage. This includes gold. Gold will continue to rise, I promise you, as more questions arise about Fort Knox, as our national debt pushes $36 trillion. That's not going anywhere. Even with Doge, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Gold is the portfolio protection maneuver that I'm recommending for everybody to have some money in gold. How much is right for you? You got to talk to our friends at Colonial Metals. They'll help you come up with a great plan. They can take an existing IRA or 401k, make it a precious metals, make a portion of it a precious metals IRA at no cost to you, by the way. Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/Grant, freegoldguide.com/Grant. And I will tell you, these are people that I trust, okay? I get a lot of gold companies coming to ask to be on the podcast. Colonial Metals is the ones that I've chosen. I use them. You should too. Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/Grant. All right. Tulsi Gabbard, our Director of National Intelligence, went on with Jesse Waters. And what she revealed, this is nuts. If you want proof that our intelligence agencies are overrun with leftists, you just have to listen to this.
There's going to be a lot of house cleaning because now we're hearing CIA agents don't like getting Doge, so they're going to sell state secrets to our enemies. What are we going to do here?
You see what he just said? CIA agents going to sell state secrets to our enemies. That is treason. The punishment is most certainly death. We've got to find these people, and we've got to hold them accountable. Tulsi?
I am curious about how they think this is a good tactic to keep their job. They're exposing themselves essentially by making this indirect threat using their propaganda arm through CNN that they've used over and over and over again to reveal their hand that their loyalty is not at all to America. It is not to the American people or the Constitution. It is to themselves. And these are exactly the kind of people that we need to root out, get rid of, so that the patriots who do work in this area, who are committed to our core mission, can actually focus on that. I got to tell you, one of the byproducts of what I just saw literally today is because of this immediate action of transparency and accountability, I have people within the intelligence community reaching out to me personally and directly saying, hey, you need to know about this. You need to look over here. People are stepping forward because they are all on board with the mission to clean house and refocus on our core mission of serving the American people.
I love.
Well, I will tell you, it's safer now to step forward than it was under Joe Biden's administration. Think about the people like my buddy Steve Friend, former FBI guy, steps forward, basically gets canceled by Joe Biden. So you got these whistleblowers. They're instrumental. I've said before, people inside the Secret Service, people inside the FBI that allowed this treasonous behavior to unfold, this corruption to unfold. They were part of the problem. And even if they weren't taking part in it, but they knew about it, they were part of the problem. They were culpable in this. We should have had mass resignations, but we didn't because people want to keep their job. And I get it. You need to feed your family. But remember, I refused to compromise at that old network I was at. I love them. They have a right to do whatever they want to do or tell their hosts whatever they want to tell them. But I have a right to say no, but it also means I'm not going to work there very long. But I have principles. So I stand up for what I believe in. These people need to be doing that too. Here's Greg Carlson writes, I always love doing this podcast because I have so many cool people that watch and listen. Greg Carlson on the Facebook chat writes, I give praise to all the whistleblowers. I became a whistleblower on the Australian government foster care system over 20 years ago. Now I'm on every government hit list ever since. It's hard being a whistleblower against government. Greg, I'm curious, are you still in Australia? Because, boy, Australia was put to the screws with government overreach, especially during COVID. Lord knows what they've done to our gun rights in Australia. So, Greg, thank you for being a whistleblower, and thank you for having the boldness to step up and do that. We need more people like that. So, as Tulsi is talking about this, she then reveals what I was mentioning to you of just how liberal these people are. At NSA, National Security Agency, they're having bizarre sex chat about transgender, non-binary Aphrodites. Is that what it's called? Hermaphrodites. Not an Aphrodite, a hermaphrodite. You know what I mean, a hermaphrodite. Sorry.
Well, Jesse, what we're going to do has already been done. There are over 100 people from across the intelligence community that contributed to and participated in this, what is really just an egregious violation of trust, what to speak of like basic rules and standards around professionalism. I put out a directive today that they all will be terminated and their security clearances will be revoked. But the thing here, Jesse, is we got to take a step back because this is just barely scratching the surface. When you see what these people were saying, and thanks to Chris Rufo for putting it all out online, they were brazen in using an NSA platform intended for professional use to conduct this kind of really, really horrific behavior.
Do you want to see what they were saying? And Christopher Rufo is one of the good guys. He's been finding a lot of this stuff and putting it out there. I'll read it to you. This is some of the chat. It says, how were you raised? How you will be, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you are 100% the result of your experiences. That does not mean the way people raise you will be the way you turn out. I'm not sure he's correct on this. And an intersex birth would be a great opportunity to raise a kid as NB, that's non-binary, and let them choose later. Oh, you can choose later what sex you want to be with or what sex you want to be, I guess. This is inside NSA and a CIA agent talking about this. Or not choose at all and just be nothing, they write. And none of those things mean that their gender would a socially constructed, that their gender, I don't know what that says, a socially constructed identity. True, the guy writes. Hermaphrodite and intersex are two different things. Yes, you are not 100% the result of your experience. I mean, I'll keep reading this like it's just disgusting stuff. It doesn't do anything to get me all fired up is what it does. Being trans isn't genetic. And if it was, we super shouldn't want it to be, because holy crap, would that be awful for us? Because 100%, as soon as someone claimed to discover the trans gene, this is the same nonsense people talk about a gay game. You absolutely know that the people would super use it for eugenics and abort trans babies. People would super use it to gatekeep transness. Oh, your brain genetic scan doesn't show that you're trans, so we won't actually acknowledge your identity. Whether it's 99 or 100%, you should absolutely have zero way of knowing who you would be if literally anything about your past was different. Yes, true. Hermaphroditism doesn't exist in humans, and it's become kind of an offensive term for intersex people. Now, I don't know who's on what side, but that is a crazy conversation to be having on a secure national security chat app. I mean, that's the conversation they're having. Don't we have bigger things to worry about than hermaphrodites and non-trans and whether it's you're born with it or not? I would think we would.
And they were brazen in doing this because when was the last time anyone was really held accountable? Certainly not over the last 4 years, certainly not over the last 10, maybe 20 years. When we look at some of the biggest violations of the American people's trust in the intelligence community. So today's action in holding these individuals accountable is just the beginning of what we're seeing across the Trump administration, which is carrying out the mandate the American people gave him. Clean house, root out that rot and corruption and weaponization and politicization so we can start to rebuild that trust in these institutions that are charged with an important mission of serving the American people, ensuring our safety, security, and freedom.
That's a simple game, right? When it comes to national security, you want people that are committed to keeping you and me safe. Now, in many respects, in some instances, I can keep myself safe. I don't need them. But when it comes to stopping terrorists from entering the United States or capturing terrorists before they do something or exposing a terrorist plot or going after the Zizians, this trans vegan cult that is killing people across America, we're going to need a national security intelligence apparatus. But them talking about trans issues is not going to get us to a point where we need to be when it comes to keeping people safe. So now this gets back to the issue of what do we do to get the information we want and deserve? Epstein files especially. Do you think I want the Epstein files because the salacious gossip will be great? Partly, maybe, right? I mean, I would love to see Bill Clinton squirm when it comes down to the things that he partook in. Yeah, part of me wants just the salacious details. But the other part is I want to know who I can trust and who I can't. Because if you're flying to a private island with a billionaire to have sex with young girls, and I mean young girls, you're a sick mother scratcher, and you should be nowhere near the power structure of this country. And I don't think you should be preaching to a flock of hundreds of thousands of people if it comes out that you were on one of those flights. I mean, there's a lot that we can learn from this. Marjorie Taylor Greene knows it. She talked about it.
I support all the lists being released. I want to see Epstein's list. I want to see the list of the sexual misconduct slush fund. You know, members of Congress and senators that taxpayer money was used to pay out their victims. I want to see all the list.
Including the Gates report.
If they're going to release one, release them all.
Okay, thank you.
So that's interesting. If you release one, release them all. She says release Matt Gaetz' report. I actually don't think Matt Gaetz gives a rat's you-know-what whether it's released or not. I really don't. But again, Matt Gaetz' activity, and I trust Matt Gaetz' explanation for all of it, it's not a national security matter anymore. He's out of government. But the others most certainly could be a national security issue. Now, how did all this get blocked? I believe much of it had to do with the deep state's relationship with the corporate media. Amy Robach was an ABC News anchorwoman. She had the goods on Epstein 3 years before this story broke. And listening to her talk, you have to wonder, were the bigwigs at ABC News compromised? Maybe.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways.
So first off, this is from Project Veritas, and it says she's caught on a hot mic. Now, she's sitting down in front of a camera with a microphone in front of her. Everybody knows you don't say something in front of that camera with a microphone unless you expect it to get out. So I'm not necessarily sure she's caught. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't going out live. She knows there's a camera there and a microphone there.
We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
You know what you should have done? I had news bosses that wouldn't let me go with stories that were very, very important stories at the time. Sometimes they're just local politics stories or local crime stories, and I had the goods. And they said, no, we can't go with that, or no, I'm not going to let you cover that story today. It wasn't that they were trying to squash it. They just didn't want me covering. They wanted me on a different story. I will tell you what I did. I went to my buddy who worked at a competing station, and I gave him the story. Here, you put it out there. My deal was I don't have any allegiance to the station that I'm working at. My allegiance was to the viewers and the public and the information. If they need to hear it, I need to get it out there. I always kind of was a rogue that I worked for myself. I've always looked at that. Even when I was on the payroll of NBC for a long time, I still always looked at it as my independent business, Grant Stinchfield, Inc. I gave it to my buddy, let him break it. When you see it end up on Fox 4 here in Dallas, leading the 6 o'clock news, and we had it, and my news director, I walk in and say, oh, well, we had it. They had no idea I gave the whole story to my competitor. But That's how I got action. Next time I tell you I got the goods, don't make me bury it. And it worked. It really did. It worked. Now, why else do you think we need the Epstein files? Because there are victims in all of this. And I think the victims have been forgotten about. This was a victim, and I figured I'd play it for you because it's horrific. And this was after Ghislaine Maxwell's sentencing. You know, this was Epstein's cohort and everything. This is what she said she went through. Not just Ghislaine, however you say her name. Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever. But the victim in all of this.
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what she, Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes. And I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being raped over and over and over again. And yes, Ghislaine must die in prison because I've been in hell and back for the last 17 years.
And 27 for me.
I was 10 years old when Liz Stein was being trafficked. I was 10. That is how long the sex trafficking ring has been going on.
She was 10 when the other victim was being trafficked. She wasn't saying she was getting raped at 10, but I'm sure she was very young age. It's sick, man. These people are absolutely sickening to me. So I hope the victims find peace someday, and I think they'll find peace once these lists are released. Donald Trump is Jesus Christ. I love that name in the Getter chat. Lies are being revealed. They are slowly, but not as quickly as I would like. Oh, Patrick says Amy Roach. I thought it was Amy Rohrbach, but maybe not. Maybe it's Amy Roach for the woman here. Let me see. Oh yeah, Amy Rohrbach. Or Amy Rohrbach is what it says. So at least that's what it is listed for Project Veritas, Patrick. But who knows? Anyway, what her name is doesn't matter. The fact that she had the information is what does matter in all of this. Folks, Patriot Mobile, patriotmobile.com/Grant. I've got a Patriot Mobile phone right here. 2 lines on one phone. This is what I love about this. You could do this too. It's called the Patriot One plan. 1 phone, 2 lines, 2 different networks. So if in Miami and it doesn't work as good in Dallas, I just use the phone number that's on the different network and I always have a signal. It's freaking brilliant. Not to mention I've got businesses. The 2 lines really help as well. More than that, though, the customer service is fabulous, all 100% U.S. based. But this is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Where you spend your money, says a lot about where you want to see this country go. If you are spending money with the big 3 cell phone companies, you are literally enabling the woke mob. They donate to organizations like Planned Parenthood. They actively take part in electing candidates that are destroying our nation. If you're paying them money, you are giving them money to fund that war against us. Stop. I say it every day. Just one time, pick up the phone and call Patriot Mobile, 972-PATRIOT. It's so easy. Pause the podcast. Fine. 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code GRANT for a free first month service. Call them today and make the switch. I promise you, you will not regret making that switch. 972-PATRIOT, or just go to the website, patriotmobile.com/Grant. All right. So I told you James Comey now is under investigation. James Comey was apparently running a honeypot scheme off the books, meaning there's no notes about it, no diaries about it, no anything about it. And he was infiltrating 2 female, I'll call them smoke shows, beautiful women, into the Trump campaign to try to dig up dirt on President Trump. Why would the FBI be doing that? This is not only subversive. They wanted to talk about January 6th as some kind of coup against the United States. This guy was leading the coup. This was the coup. James Comey is a disgrace. Let me play a little clip from him just to remind you what a disgrace he really is.
Are you concerned that it may get a test unlike any other if Donald Trump is reelected? I mean, when you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious, for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions. He knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time.
Correct, but not corrupt them, to fix them. Their power is far-reaching and overreaching, maybe even more important. So, yeah, you're right. He's coming for those agencies. We're watching that. Obviously, this interview was before the election. But listen to his concerns. This tells you all you need to know. He's worried about his own ass.
So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time. But people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American. This election matters because of a reason like that. People have to participate. You cannot sit on the side.
Oh, shut up. They didn't need to sit on the sidelines. They could participate all they want. We overwhelmed them. And now we're going to overwhelm them again the next time around because people are seeing what it looks like to have a leader in the Oval Office. Just think about what's going on with Ukraine and Russia right now. All of the action and all of the talking. There are legitimate peace talks underway. It looks like this precious metals deal, this rare earth minerals deal, is going to be signed with Ukraine on Friday. Zelensky's coming to the White House, the little dictator. He's coming to the White House. 50% of revenues from the rare earth minerals in Ukraine are going back to the United States. Some of those rare earth mineral deposits are in areas of Ukraine controlled by Russia. That is by design by President Trump. President Trump signing an agreement to get aluminum from Russia. We'll drop some of the sanctions. This is what I think is going to happen against Russia. Bring our enemy closer, separate Russia away from China. And again, you bring back stability into the world. And you know how you bring back stability? You let everybody be prosperous. Providing you're not causing everybody trouble, let everybody be prosperous. Russia, you can be prosperous. Ukraine, you can be prosperous. United States, you can be prosperous. The only people we can't let be prosperous is Hamas. They've got to be destroyed. Where they don't need any money. You don't need money when you're dead in the ground. Okay? They need to be destroyed. So that's James Comey. Chuck Schumer, who may be one of the kings of the deep state, the leaders of the ruling class of career politicians, basically gave Donald Trump a warning. He basically admitted the shadow government is real and it is vindictive.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
Well, I'm told the same thing. The question becomes, who's telling you and who's telling me? The people that are telling me that those insiders are upset are whistleblowers that want to protect the integrity of the United States of America and our intelligence community. I think the people that are telling him are the very people that are upset, willing to sell secrets to our enemies, willing to destroy documents to protect people like Chuck Schumer.
And we need the intelligence community. We don't know what's going on. Look at the Russian hacking. Without the intelligence community, we wouldn't have discovered it.
Do you think he has an agenda to try to dismantle parts of the intelligence community? I mean, this form of taunting hostility.
Whether you're a super liberal Democrat or a very conservative Republican, you should be against dismantling the intelligence.
Nobody's against dismantling the intelligence community. We understand you need spies. I understand you need computer analysts, hack into foreign nations. We need all those things. What I want to do is rebuild the intelligence community that represents Americans and the vision for America first principles, not America last principles and my oligarch ruling class bureaucrat / politician principle. It's a very, very big difference. Now, this gentleman was inside the FBI a while ago. He talked about the secrets. And this is going back a ways, but I pulled this file because he talked about the secrets inside the intelligence agencies, and this is going back decades.
Look what's happened in the last 23 years. A disgrace. I personally investigated the Oklahoma City bombing case. Huge cover-up. Jack Kennedy's assassination, huge cover-up. Bobby Kennedy's assassination, huge cover-up. World Trade Center, huge cover-up. Okay. Terrorism. They're using it as an excuse to take away our constitutional rights and our civil liberties. The Bilderbergs. The Illuminati, Bilderberg, New World Order, globalists are the element behind this. It dovetails into the satanic movement, and this movement has infiltrated into our intelligence community, the once great FBI and the CIA.
All right, and that was years ago where he gave that speech. So clearly we're now seeing that. We're learning that as this unfolds. And every single federal employee, I can't say every single one, many federal employees are just beside themselves that the jig is up, especially those in the intelligence community, because I think they've broken the law and I think they may be treasonous. They're traitors to America. And then you've got the gravy-trained federal employees who don't want to prove themselves to the American people, to Elon Musk. Hey, what did you do last week? How many of you in business are asked to self-review every year, to write a review of yourself? Your pluses, your minuses, your faults. And then you go in and you sit with your boss and you go through that review. It sucks, I know, but it is a decent exercise to do. Federal employees are beside themselves over this. All Elon Musk asked for was 5 bullet points. And I think the reason he was asking for the 5 bullet points was literally to see who's a real employee and who's not. Well, about 1 million people responded out of the 3 million people workforce. So I don't think it's 2 million people are phony fake frauds that don't actually exist. The number may be very high, though. Here's Alina Habba, friend of mine and one of the president's closest confidants, basically responding to this idea of how dare we ask federal employees to explain what they do every day.
Clarify for federal workers who might be confused who to listen to, since Elon Musk's post is different from what OPM sent out?
I don't think it's... Look, here's the reality of the situation. There's one person we're supposed to be listening to, that's President Trump, and what the American people mandated, which is what we're doing. People need to be accountable. You need to be able to answer the question. If you couldn't answer it yesterday, you have till today. But the reality is accountability is real. I can't not show up to work every day. I have to answer to the president. And by answering to the president, I answer to the American people. It's very simple. Would you want to pay somebody to do a job and they don't show up to work? I don't think so. I could name 5 things, 5 bullets, in about 5 minutes of me coming into the office every day. If you struggle to do that for a week, there's no excuse for that. Now, you can have an extra day to answer it, but you better be able to answer it.
What clarification can you offer workers, though, who are confused?
I'm not sure why you're confused or why it's so hard to answer what 5 things you've done in the past week.
And what do you say to departments that have told their employees you don't have to answer?
Well, I think that there's reasoning behind that. You have to understand some of these departments, obviously, we work with top secret information that perhaps you're not supposed to disclose. There's a lot of complications that I'm not going to get into, but there's no question that every single cabinet member, every single person that was put into this administration wants the American people working, wants people back to work, wants to stop the Zoom calls, and wants to stop people from double dipping and having 2 jobs when taxpayer dollars are paying for you to come to work.
Is the White House investigating any of the Doge resistance, like hacking of the
That's a question for Doge and DOJ.
Are White House staffers included in the ask by Elon Musk? Did you turn in 5 things to President Trump that you did?
I received an email. President Trump knows what I do every single day. So for me to answer that email is incredibly easy. Frankly, the American people see what I do every single day. So it's just such a non-issue. Think about the fact that we're having look at all of you standing here asking me why people are upset to answer to their boss, the American people, and the President of the United States, what you've done at work. What a ridiculous thing. I mean, it's as ridiculous as us having to say that boys can't play in women's sports. The fact that we are wasting American taxpayer dollars to even have to correct this is insane.
The people that don't respond. The order to fire people who don't answer.
Well, firing people has been happening. It happens in every job. Is it outrageous to you that we're firing people? I mean, PPO has fired tons of people. Each department has fired tons of people. If you're not on an American First agenda, you're not here. It's very
will they
simple.
be fired if they don't? Just to be clear, will they be fired if they don't respond?
I think the president spoke on that. I'll refer to his statement. You will be held accountable. You will lose your job if you are not working.
Well, but OPM had said, I believe it was minutes afterwards, or at least it came out afterwards, that a failure to respond was not tied to resignation. So,
listen, it's like any job. We're going to ask you what you're doing. Each department is in charge. We have to look at what everybody's doing. You want to say that we're just going to go in and do something careless? No, we don't do things carelessly. But we are asking people to show us that you are working.
And what's going to happen to the messages? Will a higher up evaluate the message and see whether this person was being effective and constructive that week, or is it just that we must respond to show that it exists?
I think every department will handle it in a coordinated effort, but the mandate is real. You have to show up to work.
Will it take staff time to read them? I mean,
of course it takes people's time to read them. We're not asking them so that we put them in a wastebasket. We're asking because we want to know.
So AI is going to go through the responses. This is what Elon does. He's so great. He's using technology to read through the responses, see who's a real person, who's not a real person. Let's go through it. Are the answers good? Are they bad? I mean, if I was really pissed, or if I was just really being a joker, what did you do last week? I would say I got my coworker to buy a Tesla. What else did you do last week? Number 2 on the list. I signed up 5 of my coworkers for Starlink. How about that? What else did you do? I decided to go to my boss and say we wanted to put on a looping video of a SpaceX launch and landing that airs in the lobby of our. Would Elon think that's funny? I would hope he would. Maybe he would call me in and say, "Hey, we need you to work here because you're funny." I don't know. Or maybe I'd get fired, which is probably more like it. Folks, you've heard me talk about my friends over at the Wellness Company. TWC.health/Grant. These are the kits that I want you to have. They're very, very important kits. In this one, you got 8 of the most important prescription medications you can have, including amoxicillin. You got Zofran in here as well in case you get nauseous. You've got ivermectin in here, which is very, very important if you're trying to fight COVID. I've used the ivermectin in here. Still hard to get in some parts of the country, and it's like a miracle drug now. The Wellness Company can provide you with one of these sent right to your door. Quick call with the doctor, no problem. TWC.health/Grant. You wait. We're going to have a natural disaster or a terrorist attack, and the drugstores are closed down, and you're going to need a prescription medication, and you're not going to have it. And you're going to say, man, Grant told me. So if you've got ammunition, if you've got food and water, if you've got power supply, I'm going to ask you, do you have prescription medications? If you don't, you're not ready. TWC.health/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT. All right, Caroline Leavitt sends a earthquake through the White House press briefing room. The White House Correspondents Association will no longer be in charge of deciding who gets a seat, where they sit, who's allowed in the room. The White House is taking over that. I can't believe the White House wasn't in charge of this before. But with that, let me play for you Caroline Leavitt explaining that.
As you all know, for decades, a group of DC-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join, fear not, but we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility. Just like we added a new media seat in this briefing room, legacy media outlets who have been here for years will still participate in the pool, but new voices are going to be welcomed in as well. As part of these changes, we will continue the rotation amongst the 5 major television networks to ensure the president's remarks are heard far and wide around this world. We will add additional streaming services which reach different audiences than traditional cable and broadcast. This is the ever-changing landscape of the media in the United States today.
You know who that is? That's Real America's Voice. That's who she's talking about. Maybe The Blaze. Maybe One America News. These are the new players on the scene, right? On a streaming platform. So does this mean my buddy Brian Glenn, who's the White House correspondent for Real America's Voice, will he get a seat in the room now? I hope so. Kick out some of these mainstream legacy media members. Put them in the back of the room. Make them stand. Put my friends at One America News. Put them at from Newsmax, from Real America's Voice. Get them in the front. That's what I'd like to see happen. The Blaze, too. Breitbart. Gateway Pundit. Definitely the Gateway Pundit. All of them. Get them in the room. Get them engaged because they reach a lot of people. And you know what? From a liberal perspective, too, I don't care. Let the liberal media outlets have a spot, too. Oh, wait. They're all liberal media outlets. They already had a spot. ABC, NBC, CBS. What liberal streaming platform is there that can even compete with a Real America's Voice? None. Because they're not on that front. They don't compete that way. Yeah, they got some YouTube channels, but not networks like RAV. Not by a long shot. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. We're going to see you on a Real America's Voice show tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you stay tuned for that. And Stinchfield's Army rolls, as always, because of all of you. I appreciate all of you watching. Thank you for that. And we'll see you all tomorrow, same time. Thanks for watching, everybody.